And we are rolling, man. Ajitesh, how are you doing, dude?
I'm great. How
I
are you,
am well,
Shivam?
man. You're based out of Delhi, right?
Yeah, Gurgaon, exactly. But it's the same,
That's
almost the
insane,
same.
dude. Because seen some of your Instagram stuff, you're jacked, man. You're jacked. And what I was surprised to find was you're all vegan. So that was insane.
Yes, but that's a common. Like I often hear these two
Yeah,
sentences without any pause and comma.
yeah,
But it's a common myth that you can't be fit
yeah,
or jacked or
yeah.
whatever being a vegan. It's like it's a myth which I've been trying to bust for the last 9 years.
Right.
We'll try to bust it today as well.
Yeah,
Let's
man.
see.
So because there's a lot of confusion there, especially in terms of can you get fit, like can you grow muscle and at the same time have a vegan lifestyle? There was this whole game changers, but then from last I heard
Yeah.
someone debunked game changers. Then after that, someone debunked the debunker, and it's gotten really complicated and things like that. So I figured might as
No,
well.
so Joe Rogan happens to be he has a love and hate relationship with veganism. So he often calls many experts, so to say, to his podcast and discusses
Right,
veganism. But it often happens that he ends up
bashing on it.
dissing it, bashing on it. So he had called this one particular doctor, an expert who happened to be nothing but a physio. His
Oh yeah,
technical degree is a
yeah.
physio degree, and he kind of tried. That was his attempt at debunking the game changers. But then the maker of the documentary, I forget his name,
James.
he saw that and he said, no, James, he said that it's not fair. You have to call me on the show so that I can reply back to
Yeah,
the questions. And he ripped this
I
guy
heard.
apart with all the facts and
I saw.
everything. I'm sure you might have seen it. And though Joe Rogan never supports veganism, he was forced in that particular podcast to accept the fact that you can be fit and healthy on a vegan
Yeah,
diet because the facts were in front of his eyes.
yeah, and more importantly, like there. Yeah, one thing is to look at the scientific evidence with reference to muscle protein synthesis and things like that. But at the same
Mhm.
time, it's also important to actually meet people and speak to people who've actually gone through that journey, right? And
Exactly.
you've been through that journey. You've been a vegan for like 10 years and 9 years.
9 years.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
9 years. And what was crazy was to me was when we spoke on the phone, you said that I did it. You had your own reasons for doing it, which I would love for you to kind of share here.
Sure. So, I've always, and like, why me? Every one of us considers ourselves to be a decent human being who wouldn't want to cause any unnecessary harm to anyone. You want to live a good life and all,
Yeah,
so on and so forth. We all, believe
yeah,
in that. So I believed so, and but then somehow something happened. Often and that's why I think it's important that the kids grow with some kind of an animal in
yeah,
contact with them. That's always preferred because then it keeps things in perspective, and actually opens the eyes of the kid to the world beyond just
yeah.
human beings. So that something similar happened to me in 2009. We got Rambo, our fat lab, at home in 2009, and like instantly, like I think within 6 months of him being at our home, suddenly something started changing the way I used to look at animals whom we consider pets and animals whom we used to consider um, food.
Right.
So that line started blurring somehow, something started happening without even me consciously thinking about it. Then you when you are in animal when you are in contact with animals and you are constantly researching about how to take care of your pet
Yeah.
and all, you happen to be on social media, and you, you happen to end up on some pages which talk about animal rights and animal activism and stuff
Right.
like that. And I stumbled upon a page like that, and there was this very simply put statement, or rather a question somebody had asked there, and why do you eat one animal and love another? And that made me think, kind of makes sense. I have never thought about it. I always considered myself as an
Yeah.
animal lover. Hence, I have a dog, and I love him, and I can like die for
Right.
him. And but on the other end, then there are certain animals whom I don't even consider as living beings. So these thoughts started popping in my head at a very
Level.
subconscious level. Not I was not actively
Yeah.
thinking about it. Um, then one day it happened so that I was driving back from office to my home, and the way it is in India, the meat and dairy industry is so unorganized that the way they transport the animals is it's in open in front of our eyes. So I just happened. There was a truck filled with
Oh, yeah.
chickens in front of me, and something was running back in my subconscious, and I saw that I had seen so many trucks all my life. I would never gave a second
Yeah.
look to them, but then that day, I don't know, something, I started looking at one chicken. That chicken happened to be looking at me, and something
Yeah.
sparked, and then those were the same eyes. Those were Rambo's eyes. At that moment, I made that connection somehow, and something happened, and then from that day, things changed. Somewhere around 2009, I decided, no, I think I'll have to. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't be part of this anymore. And then I went vegetarian. I wasn't even aware of anything called veganism
Yeah.
at that time. I just quit. And I was very happy with that
Yeah.
decision.
Now, when you quit meat, like, did you decide to quit like there? First of all, like with reference to veganism, like when did you transition to being like that would be vegetarianism, but when did you transition to being like vegan at that time?
Yeah. So because I had turned vegetarian because of compassion and animal rights reason. Again, social media has been a blessing
Yeah.
in my life. So I then started associating with people with the same thinking, being present at the same pages. And then I read somewhere about something called veganism. Earlier, I thought vegan is a short form of vegetarian. That was
Yeah.
what I believed earlier, but that wasn't the case. Then somebody wrote about the horrors in the dairy industry, and how dairy is equally, if not more, cruel than the
Yeah.
meat industry, and then how we happen to use sometimes unknowingly happen to use a lot of things in our life which are made out of animals, which we are
Yeah.
not even aware. The products tested on animals and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and our cool leather jacket and our cool boots and stuff like that, which we don't even consider, give it a
Yeah.
second thought. So all those things started popping up, and then I was like, okay, yes, no. Then you fight these thoughts in your head. No, what's the harm in milk? Yeah, this is like going to extreme and this and that. It shouldn't matter that. I remember I was still consuming eggs at that time. But then the more research I did, I found the reality of the egg industry, the dairy industry, the animal industry, animal product industry, what happens in the slaughterhouses, whatever. So finally, I think by the end of 2010, or maybe early 2011. I don't
Yeah.
really remember exactly, but then I made this conscious decision that now I'm going
Hmm.
vegan, and I think that was it. And never looked back.
Yeah, it's particularly the industry. Actually, if you're looking at it from outside in, like, it's pretty brutal with what they do to animals, man. With reference to how they treat them, things like that. And
Yeah.
so go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost
Right.
like I'm in the Matrix, like in a weird way, because you're like Yeah, I mean, I'm used to. I was vegetarian, then I transitioned to non-vegetarian, and I'm still non-vegetarian only. But with reference to uh, like how the norm is gone, like there are things that we just accept as
Mhm.
normal with reference to how animals and like are treated and kind of eaten.
Exactly.
And
The industry doesn't even have the decency to treat them as living beings. They are actually treated as a piece of furniture. So I have because in these 9 years I have connected to so
yeah,
many vegans in India, and some of them have happened to be animal rescuers. There's lots of illegal transportation of cows and
hmm,
buffaloes at night
yeah,
to the states which allow slaughter in India. Not every state allows cow slaughter.
yeah.
So I've seen some things with my eyes, and I've seen some recorded videos, and the way they are stuffed into these vehicles.
Oh yeah, man.
The idea is to carry the maximum number of
Yeah, it's
animals.
crazy.
It doesn't matter if their bones break, if they are piling onto
Yeah,
each other, if their eyes are
yeah,
popping out, or their intestines are
yeah.
popping out of their ass because there is no space. And when they have to finally get them down from the truck, they don't use any kind of a ramp or anything. They just fucking pull the animals, and the 200 kg cow is being thrown on the road, getting its bones broken. And this, I've
That's
seen these.
horrible, man.
So after seeing this, you don't go back. After seeing all this, you cannot go back to,
Yeah,
so then it becomes your
yeah.
calling. It's kind of so,
Especially because, like, dude, like I've seen some of these chicken because I used to drive in the morning on the highway. So I think all these trucks, like, they in
yeah,
formation one after the other. They were like driving into. I was staying in Bombay, so Bombay, may they one after the other, they're kind of rolling into town,
yeah, yeah.
and
I
half
know, I
those
know.
chickens are dead. Like a lot of them have already been like by the time they reach the slaughter places,
They,
they're dead. So they're
so I'll put it in a different way. They are dead before they are killed. Like they have lost hope. You can see it in their body language. There's
yeah,
nothing left. It's just that
yeah.
you know, their soul is crushed much before they
Yeah,
die.
man. Also, like
So
a lot
it's
of
very,
people, this is one thing which I realized. So they people use these terms like free range and fuck whatever, like
cruelty
graze,
free or
whatever.
whatever.
So
Yeah.
the thing is, the problem is that
Hmm.
there is no international, not national, not even any. There's no standard in terms of what is free range. So they can still use
First of
they can
all,
still
yeah,
use genetically apparently they can still use genetically modified like chickens which basically are too heavy on up so they don't move and
yeah,
you could like
yeah,
literally open the barn door a little bit so that a little bit of sunlight comes in where they can walk a little bit outside and that would also still be
yeah.
considered free range and it's a
Yeah, so first of all, it's not practical to kill more than 70 or 80 billion animals per
yeah,
year and keep them free range. It's a
yeah,
lie. And you're right, like so there are so many loopholes. Like right now I'm sitting in this room. If I fill this room with hundreds of
yeah,
chicken and not put them in individual cages, it's free range. So these are
yeah,
all loopholes.
yeah.
So yeah,
So
so that's how it is.
well, a lot of people also say that if you're vegan, like if everyone turns vegan, that's not. It's all good,
Just give
man.
me 1 second. Just give me. क्या हो रहा है ये तब से?
It's all good.
Just
It's all. It's all good, man. I had dogs, so I know it's crazy. You got
I'm
dogs? You got multiple dogs or what?
I was talking about Rambo, so that was our
Oh,
Fatso
Rambo.
Rambo.
Damn, that's an old Labrador, man. He's stayed. He's been around for a while, man. I had a Labrador. I had a lab. He
Yeah.
ever since I was like I think in the eighth grade. So I think he passed away in
Mm.
2012, 2013. A brown lab. But yeah, man, dogs
Mm-hmm.
are the best. With so what I was about to ask you was basically a lot of people say. So you said like if everyone goes free range, that's not going to be sustainable at all. With reference to with I mean this is just from the top of your head. A lot of people argue. What I've heard is that veganism for everyone won't be sustainable if everyone eats plants. So, like in the vegan community, like what's the response to that?
No, so yeah, these are the common templated
Yeah,
set of
yeah,
um, responses towards veganism. So one of them is this, that it's not sustainable. So I have two answers to this. First of all, um, let's assume it's not sustainable
yeah.
for the world. For once, if it's not assumed, but the guy who's posing this question to me can very well go vegan. No, it's sustainable for him. So just worry about you first of all. That's the
Yeah,
short answer. The other answer is actually it's false that it's not sustainable, because we are growing
yeah,
crops and soy, and we are destroying the planet by cutting down the forests in Amazon to grow all this food for the livestock, not human
right.
beings. And then all this land which we are occupying all over the world to grow this
Yeah,
food, which can easily be directly fed to humans. The same land can be used to grow stuff which can be fed to
yeah,
humans. So what is not sustainable is what we are doing right now. California is going through a
yeah,
drought, and so on and so forth, whatever we are seeing all across the world. So it's what we are doing is not sustainable. Veganism is sustainable because the common argument is, where will the land come from? Where will you cut down on the
right.
forest? Where will you grow so much food? We are already growing. We are like, humans are 7
Right.
billion on
Yeah,
this planet. The number of animals which we slaughter every year is more than 50 billion.
yeah, yeah,
Right. So we are feeding 50 billion animals, and we can simply just shift all that resource and start feeding the
yeah,
humans
yeah.
directly. So it's a surface level argument. Somebody who's not actually read and done research about it would think this
Yeah,
way.
and yeah, I guess that makes sense because after a point in time, you can find stuff which is more sustainable. Like if you're talking about like world sustainable, you can have like a vegan diet and think about, like for example, it's not sustainable if everyone has freaking cashew milk, right? Cashew milk or almond milk and things like that.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But
Absolutely,
you can, like,
absolutely.
other options are still sustainable for sure.
So, okay, so veganism is not about consuming cashew milk or having
Yeah,
avocados or, those fancy. Veganism is abstaining from harming animals to the maximum possible, as practical as
right.
possible. For our nutrition needs, we don't need any kind of milk once we have teeth and we are not drinking our
That's true.
mother's milk. That's what the nature that's
Yeah,
what the nature says. So if we are consuming milk, it's just out of habit. So don't blame veganism for your habits. It's just you are addicted to a certain texture and
right,
taste. So these things like cashew milk or soy milk or almond milk or stuff like that are a good help when somebody's
right.
transitioning. You don't need to be consuming. There is no rule, and nutritionally you don't
Right.
need it. You can get everything from
So
plants
how
and
was
whatever.
the transition from, like, I'm assuming before around 2009, 2010, 2011, you were kind of vegetarian, sorry, non-vegetarian, like you would eat all meat and then you
Yes,
kind of
yeah,
transitioned. So what
yeah,
was the transition for you
yeah.
like in terms of, was it easy, difficult?
So surprisingly, even when I used to consume everything, there was a certain notion in my mind. I think earlier people used to think that way. Now because of this whole gym mania and protein hype, people have started believing otherwise. But earlier, I remember, even if you consume meat, people would say don't consume too much. It's not that great. बहुत गर्म
Huh.
होता है. It generates heat. So even when I was consuming everything, I used to, like, maybe once a week or maybe twice a week. If I'm meeting someone outside, I used to consume like that. I was not consuming it, like every day and stuff like that. So somewhere I knew that it's not great for health. I used to have it
Yeah.
just for taste. So and the moment I made that emotional
Right.
connect, then it was not a problem at all. So like some people say, it took me a lot of time to quit and this and that. So I one day I decided, and then I was able to do that.
Right. So it was like in your case, and I'm guessing like a lot of other vegans around the world, like you were so compelled by the mission of veganism, if I would say,
right.
that you were like,
Yeah.
okay, let me do this first, and then whatever I have to, like whatever changes I have to make will come, but I want to do this first.
Yeah. It's a good point here, because I turned vegan and will always be vegan for animals, and I didn't even consider the health
Right.
part. I was not even bothered. I was like, yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
we'll see. And but I never associated. So as I'm saying, at least when I was young, at that, like in my 20s and whatever, we were not so obsessed with protein and meat. Yeah, we used to go to the gym, or we used to, play some
Yeah.
sports and or eat whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't used to bother that much. Yeah, okay. Eggs were associated with health
Yeah.
food, so ठीक है, कभी eggs ले लिया, understand? So I was not bothered. So once I quit meat also, I didn't even bother about
Protein.
the source of nutrition or protein, this that. And another thing which was a coincidence which happened, that though I was at least visibly
Yeah.
fit most of my life, around 2009 2010, for some reasons I couldn't be physically active at all, and so I had gained a lot of weight. So in 2010 I was really out of
Right.
shape, and for quite some time I had not done any kind of a physical activity. I was not going to the gym or anything. So in a way you could say, so in my mind these two things were not connected, but I resumed my fitness journey, and I adopted veganism almost at the same time, without even bothering or knowing that there's this protein mania which I might
So
suffer from.
I mean, yeah, I also think that to a certain extent, like protein mania in India is fine, because we don't really have the level of protein that we need. Like, for example, if we are, so I'm 60 kgs, they say that, I have at least 120, 130 grams of protein a day. The average Indian won't have that, because a lot of the stuff that we are having is lentils, things like that, which also has a certain amount of protein, but it's like mainly just carbohydrates, right? So what do you think about that? Like, in terms of, do we need to even focus on protein or not at all?
Yeah. So again, short answer and long answer. Short answer is in the form of a question. Have you ever met or heard of anybody ever who has suffered from protein deficiency, who has been hospitalized because of protein deficiency, or has died because of protein deficiency?
No, but the symptoms of protein deficiency are apparent, right? For example, if you have a very physical lifestyle, if you're walking around, moving around, if you're not going to get, this is the common perception, and I'm talking about it from my point of view, is that if you don't have that level of, if you don't have a certain amount of protein, just like any other macronutrient, right, like fat, like all carbohydrate, it is still an essential macronutrient, like something that you need. Not in terms of essential, non-essential. I'm just saying, like, you need it, and that's why I think like the symptoms of that will be apparent. Like, for example, if you have, I've seen people who take like 3 days to recover because they're vegetarian and they have mostly carbohydrates. Like, supposing they do a workout on Monday, they've still got like muscle soreness and weakness till Friday, right? And I would say that their level of protein intake definitely has an effect there.
Okay, so Fair enough, but there can be many other
100%, yeah, of
factors, as
course.
simple as lack of sleep, lack of water,
Yeah,
uh, uh, eating completely shit diet.
yeah,
Even if they are vegetarian, might be eating burgers and whatever.
right.
I'm just saying. So there could be many factors involved. So, so the other question is the this myth that you need twice the grams of the kg of body weight you
Hmm.
are is a complete myth. If you're 60 kg, you don't need 120 grams or 110 grams per day. You are overdoing it. You are overloading your kidneys, and it will harm you or anybody else in the long run. So, okay, so I'll
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
explain. So World Health Organization has made it crystal clear that any human being in any stage
Yeah.
of life, be it pregnancy or old age, or in their youth, or at any stage of life, are good with uh, 60 grams of protein, 0.6 grams per kg of their body
Got it.
weight. Okay. But they also say, because we are talking to a worldwide
Yeah, yeah.
audience and we want to cover everybody, so uh, let's keep the upper limit a little more safer. You can go up to zero point 0.8 to zero point 0.9 grams per kg of your body weight, which means you actually technically don't even need 1 gram per kg of your body weight.
Right.
That's the max. Like, for psychological comfort, mental comfort, if you want to just round it off and keep it to 1 gram per kg of your body weight, you can do that. That's more than enough for 95% of the
Hmm.
population. None of us is going to take part in a strongman competition or a powerlifting competition, or we are not going to step on the stage to pose
Hmm.
in a
Yeah.
bodybuilding
Yeah.
competition ever. So we tend to actually forget that when we are discussing
Yeah,
health
for
and
sure.
fitness and protein, because we are so bombarded with the similar kind of visuals and imagery and information with bodybuilders flexing all
Yeah.
around, that we assume, okay, our aim is that. No, but our aim is not that. We will never
Yeah, for
reach
sure.
there. They are the
So,
genetically most
yeah.
blessed people who reach
How has
that
your
state.
experience been like with reference? Because I know that you wanted, like, you started your fitness journey, and at the same time, you were like, you said, I'm going to transition to veganism.
Mm,
Have you had an
mm,
issue
mm.
with, like, protein, things like that, or has, like, what do you currently eat as well? So you said, like, you don't want, like, if suppose you have a
Okay.
shitty diet, that's a bad thing.
Mm.
So according to you, even if you are
Mm.
vegan, you can still have a shitty vegan diet, right?
Yeah. So veganism, we have eating vegan food doesn't mean you are eating healthy food.
Me.
Eating plant-based whole foods is
Hmm.
healthy. Like an Oreo
Yeah.
is vegan. It's not
Yeah.
healthy. Like, these days you have vegan burgers, vegan pizzas, and this and that. They are not.
Yeah.
So if you have to still compare it to a dairy, a pizza full of animal products, it might still be in comparison healthier than that, but it's not actually a health food.
It's not.
So health foods are your whole
Right.
foods, which are like the least processed food, which closest to their natural form.
Hmm.
In the so Fruits, legumes,
Yeah.
sprouts, lentils, beans, chickpeas, nuts, seeds, rice, chapatis, whatever. If you are in
Hmm.
Indian, so chapatis, integral, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. All these are basic foods which will cover all your um, macros, carbs, protein, fats,
Hmm.
everything, including lots and lots of fiber, which
Yeah.
is essential, and most of people
Oh
completely
yeah.
miss on
Yeah.
it.
Fiber's a big
Uh,
one, man.
yeah,
Fiber's a big one for sure.
yeah, fiber, big one. So other thing, also, it's I think it's important to just mention a few other very obvious facts about protein which we happen to
Right. Right.
miss.
Right. Right. Right.
Uh, so, um, so Dr. Michael Greger, I really respect him. He's a plant-based doctor and scientist, and he runs a website with the name of nutritionfacts.org. So I keep on reading a lot. He has written very good, great books also on connecting diseases with animal products and stuff like that. So I was reading his book, and it was a very eye-opening fact, which we all tend to miss, is that uh, nature's perfect
Yeah.
food for any mammal is its mother's milk.
True.
Nature has sent it perfectly balanced. It has the perfect balance of protein, carbs, fats, and whatever other things
Right.
are required. So, if you take a sample of, for example, a cow or a buffalo's milk, and you study it, you will see that it is very, very high in protein, it's very high in
Yeah.
fat, and it is low in
Right.
carbs. And there's a reason for that, because a 50 kg calf has to quickly grow into a 200 kg whatever bull
Right.
or whatever. Rapidly it has to grow, so that all those hormones and that chemistry of that particular
Yeah.
milk is meant for that animal to grow at that pace.
Yeah.
In 6 months times or 8 months time, it grows into this huge
Yeah.
animal, right? Now you take a sample of human milk and you study it, you will find that it is uh, very low in
Yeah.
fat, very high in carbohydrate, and medium to low in protein. There's a reason for that. Humans grow very slowly, and hence they live much longer.
Right.
Our growth is very, very slow. So there are spurts in between, like and teenage and this and that. But then the average age of human, when you compare it
Yeah.
to an animal,
Yeah.
and the growth. So so even a rat's milk has more protein content, protein ratio than a human's milk. What does it say? That protein is not the end and be all of our nutrition. It's a completely hyped this thing. What is most important for our long-term health is carbs. When I say carbs, a bread and a pasta and a pizza is also carb, but I'm not talking about those carbs. I'm not talking about simple carbs. I'm talking about complex carbs which come in the form of natural foods like fruits and veggies and legumes and so on
Yeah.
and so forth.
And it's also not as
Carbs
simple.
is very
Apparently, it's
important.
not as
Yeah.
simple as simple. Like it's not like a simple carb can also be processed as a complex carb if you have it with fiber, right? So it's
Yes,
not as
yes,
simple
yeah.
as like
The
just
names
saying
can be a
simple
little.
and that's why I'm just trying to justify why you said fruits, because like someone would be like, oh bro, and so hold on, fruits is simple carbs because it's got sugar. Well, if you have it with fiber, which is the husk or the outside, supposing you have an apple with the
No,
skin.
but fruit is not a simple carb for the reason that, um, yes, fruit has sugar, but that whole packaged
Yeah.
uh, thing has
Yes.
fiber in it. When you consume a fruit, it goes in with
Right.
fiber. The sugars, like a table, like a
Yeah.
white sugar. It unlike a white sugar, it just doesn't quickly
Yeah.
shoots up in your system and gives you
Yeah.
that kick, because it has fiber. Nature has uh, taken care of everything. When you consume the fruit, it takes its time to get dissolved in your body because of
Right.
that fiber. So yeah. So back to the point, most important nutrition for us is carbohydrates. Then low to medium is protein, and fats are the lowest. And that's where we make a lot of mistake, because when we consume cow's milk or animal products, their ratios are completely opposite to our
Yeah.
requirement, and hence all these chronic diseases which we are seeing. Vegetarians, like, they are really shocked. They are, how come vegetarians have so many diseases? It's because the rampant consumption of
Yeah.
dairy in various forms. It's so high in fat,
And
diabetes and
also like,
hypertension and cholesterol and
and
heart
it's not like
problems.
you're drinking straight from the cow's udder, right? You're actually, it's being processed to a very high degree. Even the cows, like I think cows are required I don't know where the state with what the standards are, but cows are required to have a certain output of milk for which they are like there is certain level. Even though they say it's illegal to genetically modify some of them, there have been like examples where there have been hormones that have been introduced into these animals to produce high
Yeah,
levels of
yeah,
their
it's
output.
common. It's common in unorganized industry, dairy industry like
Yeah.
India also. These hormones, there's something called as I'm forgetting the name. It will come to me in
Hmm.
a while. Uh,
I know what you're talking about though.
what is this? A pregnant woman induces that particular hormone in her body, which is very causes a lot of pain. It happens in oxytocin.
Oxytocin, okay.
So apart from various steroids and hormones which are injected, though it is banned in India, at least twice a day, the injections of oxytocin are given to these bovines so that they can. So it is assumed by obviously they are not read and they haven't though they don't know the scientific reason for why it is happening. It is assumed by the dairy farmers that oxytocin helps give more milk, helps the cow give
Right.
more milk. But actually, what is happening? Oxytocin, first of all, it is as painful as going through
Right.
labor. So imagine a animal going through that pain
Yeah.
twice a day, all its life till it gets. So that's one part. The other part is oxytocin actually slowly and slowly starts destroying the intestines and other organs in the body. So what happens? Milk doesn't come in larger amount. Milk comes out quickly. So it's easier for that dairy guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to
It's
lose
just
that
some
much
white liquid
milk.
at that point. It's
That
no
is the
longer
only
milk.
thing. Yeah, yeah. So it's first of all, even if you're consuming the purest of
Yeah.
the milk, it's the composition of that product is not compatible to the requirement of
Right.
your body. But having said that, we all know, and like I think 2 years back or 3 years back, a study from World Health Organization came and it was especially about India, that almost 80%, almost 70% of the milk consumed in India is fake milk. And if we don't stop this from happening, by 2025, 80 to 90% of Indians will be suffering from cancer.
What kind of fake
This is a
milk? Like how
study.
do they make fake milk?
It has everything except for milk. So if you just go on YouTube and search for how to make fake milk, you'll find all these local dairy guys mixing some soda, some washing powder, some nonsense and whatnot, and they'll make a white liquid for you, which you cannot make
That's
what
crazy.
it is and whatever it is. Yes, there are videos. There, I think a news channel also did a sting some years back. So there's some videos
Shit,
available
that's
on
crazy,
YouTube,
man.
which you can
Because
easily
it's
find.
just an institution that we've
Yeah,
been taught to trust, right? Like, because everyone has milk. Like, if you have chai, you got to have milk with it. Doodh wali chai. Like, just it's a thing. Like, you
right,
got
right, right.
ghee, you got paneer, you got so many like milk
I know.
products in part of our thing that at some point in time, like supposing even you're talking about ghee, right? After a point, like for example, a lot of people, like I met someone from Uttar Pradesh, and when I was speaking to them, they were like, मुझे अभी भी याद है मेरी माँ जब घी बनाती थी जब मैं छोटा था, and they would tell me
Yeah, yeah.
like
So
it would be
it's
kind of like a whole thing for them. So it's a tradition. And earlier, like ghee would be
so
a
the thing is the food is connected with a lot of
yes,
emotions and memories and nostalgia. So people that is why people get very defensive and upset if you try to tell them
yeah,
otherwise. Because it's not that they're unreasonable
yeah,
people. It's just that so much emotion is attached to this whole they have been doing all their lives. So it becomes difficult for them to detach themselves from that emotion and think objectively to what the information is being
yeah,
given to them. So yeah, it happened. So other reason, yeah, so you said that uh, how blindly we trust all these institutions and what this is what is
yeah,
happening. So there's this reminds me of this excellent documentary on Netflix which I think
for
everybody
sure,
should
man.
watch. It's the name of that documentary is what the health. It's kind of an investigative documentary where the makers have uh, uh, they have shown how the food
Yeah.
industry and the pharma industry have a big nexus. So, for example, just a random example, for example, a website of American Association for Heart might have a section of recipes on their website, and that recipe will have um bacon, for
Yeah.
example. Though it has been declared by World Health Organization that bacon is second level carcinogenic, it causes cancer. So why is this happening? The reason is, if you'll study more, and it's shown in the documentary, most of the time it happens, the funding for all these programs and all this, it comes from these, McDonald's or Burger Kings, or
Yeah.
the egg industry or the dairy industry. So hence there's so much of a
Yeah.
nexus that you simply in today's time cannot take anybody on face value.
That
So it's a great
that is
documentary to watch.
absolutely
Yeah.
true, man. Because I think there was a couple of spaces where, for example, you have I know that in the States at least you have Monsanto and all these other organizations that basically make it
Yeah, yeah,
completely impossible. They sue you if you take a look, like if you show anyone what's going on inside their sheds and
exactly.
stuff. So there's that happening.
Yeah.
But and at the same time, like so apparently I was looking up this because I wanted to, like, I was thinking of maybe starting a protein processing thing, right? For example, I wanted to make like whey protein. I wanted to see what the process is. So like they have basically filters, right? So what they essentially do is like you get milk, and then they break down the milk into cheese, which is casein, and whey, which is,
Yes,
yeah.
concentrated. Yeah.
And they kind of, so, but in order to have the protein plant available, they need to kind of have it right next to a place which makes cheese, and the place that makes cheese needs to have it next to a dairy farm. So essentially what's
Yeah.
happening is that they're actually creating an industry or an industrial complex
Exactly.
which is highly dependent on one another. So it, even though it might sound like a conspiracy
Right,
theory,
right.
it's very practical. Like, okay, I have the cheese industry,
Yeah, no.
and then after that I have the whey,
Yeah.
and then I have this whole system where, like, there are a whole bunch of people who are now depending on each other. Now that they're depending on each other, now they have jobs. So now in order to change any of these systems, it becomes problematic. And so that's what reality is.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. The food industry, especially in the organized sector in developed
Yeah.
countries, the meat and dairy industry, the milk industry, they are so strong. I would say, they are as strong as the arms
Yeah.
lobby. So they have everybody in their pockets and control. Like, for example, in US, I'm sure you might be aware of this. Like, the laws are so stringent in the school that you cannot promote any kind of food or this or that inside the school. But in the canteens, you will the only thing which gets promoted in schools is the milk, easily. So they have penetrated. So yeah, so there are laws. So there's Dr.
Yeah.
Neil Bernard. You should read about him. So he has been very active in pushing these laws, where the correction is needed regarding what kind of foods are we giving to our next generation and stuff. So I remember, I forget to remember the particular state in America which he where he was successful, but he was successful in providing vegan foods in prisons to somewhere in the US. I'm not recalling which state, but he keeps on doing all these petitions, and so because he clearly believes that what we are feeding to our youth and
Is
the
an issue.
next generation is completely utter.
That's crazy, dude. That is insane because, I could imagine like a lot of these guys in prison being a little pissed off that they're not getting, they're being made, because they're actually essentially being forced. Like, I don't think like that would be a good way. Or, I mean, that person wouldn't get like a good result because essentially, I don't know how it went down, so I don't want to comment on that. Dude, I wanted to know which. Okay, so here's the thing. there's veganism, there's like almost this red pill, that like kind of red pill, blue pill thing that y'all have. I'm guessing y'all
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
version of that.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
saying, okay, because you're saying
Right,
that
right.
there's this whole movement, and a lot of these guys, they don't know about the protein, things like that. So if supposing someone is transitioning, supposing I want to transition, I agree with you. I do agree that a lot of animals are having like there's a lot of cruelty towards animals, and I want to kind of contribute by being vegan, but at the same time I want to be Jack like you. how would how would I go about making that transition?
So they both these things go in hand in hand. So like there is no nutrition in animal products which is missing in plants. There's zilch,
Right.
nothing. You get everything. And when you combine this fact with the fact which I just told you, that you don't need twice or thrice the amount of protein which you have been forced to
Yeah.
believe. All you need is maximum 1 gram of protein per kg of your body weight. Things are so
Yeah.
simple. Like I'll tell you, for the longest of time. So yeah, obviously I keep on having junk foods, vegan junk foods once in a while here and there, of course. But the base skeleton of my daily diet is fruits, legumes, lentils, beans, chickpeas, sprouts, nuts and seeds, rice, basic steam rice, and seasonal vegetables, local food, home cooked. I try to either avoid oil completely. If it is not possible to cook in zero oil, then I ensure that the oil is very,
Yeah.
very low. And that's about it. So that's the basic skeleton. From there, you can build on that skeleton, but that is or that
Do
is
you
all you
supplement at
need.
all? No supplements?
No, I don't supplement at all. I have experimented with vegan protein powders when I was transitioning, because obviously that it took me. I didn't have all this knowledge from day one. It took me several years to gather this knowledge.
Yeah.
So I also had this um, uh, concern about protein. So I looked for some protein powders at that time. When I'm talking about 2011, 12, they were very expensive. Those Sun Warrior and whatnot. I used to get them from
Yeah.
some website. So I experimented, but I didn't feel any difference,
Right.
because for some reason it happened to be also, maybe I'm kind of a lazy guy. So most of the time I used to forget consuming.
Protein.
And then I noticed that there's no major difference. I couldn't find any difference, at least in this thing. I didn't find any difference. So then I quit. So I still, if I'm not mistaken, there might be a box of creatine lying somewhere in the kitchen. I haven't consumed it
Forever.
for years or whatever. I
So-
don't know.
So what does like a day of eating for you look like in terms of like what are some of the things that you pay attention to?
So also I attended this last year. I attended this I was fortunate to attend this very eye-opening 3-day workshop. It was not about veganism. It was about optimal health and natural living and this and that. So they taught me this whole concept of circadian cycle, where just like sunrises and so on and so forth, the Earth goes through a cycle. And because of we are part of this ecosystem, our bodies also go through a certain cycle. So, for example, in the mornings, roughly from 4 a.m. to whatever, like if you divide it into 8 hours, kind of a thing. From morning 4 a.m. around, the main function, obviously the body will continue pumping blood and it will continue digesting food and it will whatever, but in the mornings the main function of the body is to push out all the toxins, right? So now the whole if you have the right knowledge, then you know what is the right thing which you can do, or right food can you give to your body to help that process. If you're doing that, then your toxins are getting flushed out. So again, if I put some first thing in the morning, I wake up, do whatever little workout I do, or even if you don't do any workout, if you put something in your body which takes a lot of time and effort to digest, then the focus is now shifted to digestion from removing of toxins. So then if this keeps on happening over the years, then you start suffering with problems and skin problems or whatever, constipation or
Yeah.
whatever. So the perfect food provided by nature, which is quickest to digest and gives you instant energy, is
Fruits.
fruits. It's most of it is
Right.
water, right? And the rest is fiber and sugar,
Yeah.
natural sugar. So that is what I start my day with. It's nothing but fruits. And the beauty of fruits is you don't need to have this fruit or that fruit or any seasonal fruit which
Yeah.
you like, whatever amount, till you feel hungry, you can eat it. So that's my first thing which I eat every day. At least I try to eat
Yeah.
every day. I might skip once or once. Then lunch is a simple home cooked meal with a portion of steamed rice and some form of protein. I make sure that I have sprouts daily, which is high in protein and
Right.
fiber. So it could be a lentil based sprout or a chickpea based sprout or something like that. And with that, your seasonal vegetables or or some dal or something, a
Yeah.
basic meal. But before taking that meal, I ensure that I am having a good portion of salad, which
Fine.
prepares my gut for the cooked food which is about
Yeah.
to come. So it aids the digestion because cooked food ultimately consumes a lot of
Yeah.
energy in digestion.
Cooked food. Wait, one
So
second.
in all
Cooked
honesty,
food consumes a lot of energy in digestion. Oh,
yes,
I
yes,
I always
yes.
believed it was the opposite. Like I believe we cooked food to make it easy to digest.
No, we cook food to make it easy to consume, not
Got it.
digest.
So like we can consume larger
Yeah,
quantities of food if it's cooked.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Also, it's more palatable, right? So, like, if I ask you to keep on eating carrots the whole day, you will not. Then you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. But the lesser the cooked food, I'm not saying completely go off cooked food. Cooked food has its own advantages to have a
Yeah.
balanced meal because all your legumes, your lentils, everything is you cannot consume that
Yeah.
raw. That's obviously you need
Yeah,
to
and also
come.
like
So, but one
if you're
portion,
going through leafies, like suppose if you're having like cauliflower or like broccoli or something, you'd want to cook that because of the can be.
yeah, steam at least steam them or steam them and
Yeah.
this thing. So that is my lunch. By the evening, and you might have noticed this, generally what happens by the evening, everybody starts feeling very, very
Yeah.
hungry for some reason, right? And then you crave for that snack. And it happens with most of the people, it happens that they are very disciplined till evening and then something goes wrong and they pick up something wrong and then they
Yeah.
binge. Why is that happening? Is because by the evening, your body is asking for
Yeah.
energy which it can store for the next day's
Got it.
functioning. So at that point, in the evenings, I consume a handful of nuts. It could be anything, almonds or
Right.
whatever. A palmful of nuts. You can consume them like that also, or you can grind them and make a paste out of it, and or add some water. So
You keep it
whatever
simple
you
though.
experiment. So play with, yeah, I keep it simple. You can play with textures if you like cooking or whatever. So nuts and seeds, these are things which you consume in the evening. So if you roast it without salt, of course, then it kind of becomes a
Yeah.
snack in the evening. Dinner is again some kind of basic cooked food. It could be the same thing which I had in lunch. So I'm just
Yeah.
giving you an example. So it's and again some portion of green leafy veggies to help my this thing digestion. So this is all you need. So this covers everything. So it covers your
Yeah.
carbs, it covers your fiber, it covers your protein, the nuts cover your good fat.
This sounds like a really
That's
healthy
about it.
diet, man. Sounds super healthy. It reminds me of my friend and I around in 2011, 2012 discovered this thing called food combinations. I don't know if you've heard of this.
I've heard of it. I don't
It's
know much about it. Yeah,
it's
but I've
basically
heard.
Taoist, like the Taoist people. They found that it's like one of those. It's like astrology. You know, like people used to do it in the past. They didn't know what was happening, but they found that it worked, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So this basically said that your
Okay.
body can create an acidic or a basic medium at the same time. It can create one or the
Yeah.
other, but it can't create both. So if you have meat
Mhm.
and
Right.
if you have something which is high on protein, and if you have something which is high on carbs, like from animal protein and carbs from somewhere else, then that's a
Mm.
problem. They also said that if you mix certain kinds of fruits, your body is not equipped to have that. So, say for instance, if you mix an acidic fruit with a sweet fruit, your body is not going to be able to
Mhm.
digest it effectively. But if you have a acidic fruit just by itself, and you can also mix that with nuts, that's fine. But there are certain combinations of food that are actually useful or helpful for you. And but this is like, I was hearing you kind of state everything, and everything that you mentioned would be recommended by even that Taoist practice. I was like, this makes a lot of
I hear you, but just to clarify
yeah.
there, fruits should not be combined with anything, not even nuts, because then you are slowing down the digestion again, and the whole purpose at that point of the day is to
Oh
aid
yeah.
the uh, quick digestion, so the body can keep on focusing on
Yeah.
removing the toxins. So
Yeah.
that's
In the
it.
morning,
So, and
your purpose is not to load your system at
so
all.
and it makes perfect.
Sorry.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because if you think about it, when we were gatherers, we would not get 10 different kinds of fruits in one location. So it was more or less a mono meal
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So yeah, it makes sense that you keep the simple you keep, yeah, the more your body thrives is what I've
Yeah, and I've
realized.
also heard you mention this like around 2 or 3 times, where saying like this is natural, and this is not what nature kind of like. This is what we used to do at a certain point in time. That's why we've. So it shows that, like, it at least tells me that you have an understanding of how our previous environments have evolved our current state. Like for example, you say we've been perfectly equipped to digest a certain kind of milk to a certain age. It's because that's what is available for you at a certain age, like certain point of development. So, like, do you pay attention to that a lot?
You're talking about your mother's milk
Yeah,
till you
mother's
teeth.
milk, or like for example, fruit. Like you said, we don't consume many kinds of fruits together because when we were hunter gatherers, or when we're doing hunting and gathering, when we're just gathering, we would often have access to only one kind of fruit at a time. And so it would be weird for our digestive system to have multiple things. But here's the messed up part. In our modern day living, right, we have endless combinations of what would otherwise be very senseless, right? For example, like if,
Right.
like I said, um, someone will have chai and cucumber together, right? You'll have tea and cucumber together, or someone will have tea, even tea
Yeah.
and biscuits. Like you're having something
Yeah.
which is a very weird combination.
Processed
Yeah,
grain. Yeah.
processed grain, which has which is messed up on many different levels, and it's something that we've been only doing from the past, like what, 500 years, when our digestive systems took a lot of
Maybe,
time to evolve. Like, I'm being very generous with
maybe even
500.
lesser than that. Yeah, because I think this all started with the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah,
Don't think so. Before that, all this was
yeah,
so messed up.
yeah. I wonder how Indians ate before the Indian Industrial Revolution. How we ate? Like, I'm not very clear on that.
I think Britishers changed a lot of eating. They introduced tea
Yeah,
to us, and so I think that is how things change. And obviously, then this whole influx of the privatization and the coming of TV and this and that. So then you start getting brainwashed with, when you are exposed to the Western life and Western
yeah,
concepts, and then you start experimenting and loving it. That way it happens.
yeah.
I strongly believe the further away you go when it comes to eating, the further away you go from your local local grown
Yeah.
foods, it will cause a problem,
Hmm.
because you are in a certain environment, you are certain in a climate, and the crops grown in that climate and environment are meant to
Yeah.
suit you. So if you are going too far away from that, then it is unnatural.
Yeah, that
It,
does make sense, man. Because and there are so many examples everywhere you see of like someone having a fruit from like southeast. You have a dragon fruit, and the same thing you have like
exactly.
these olive oil which is made from thing from Italy.
Olive oil is very bad. You're right. Olive oil is so bad for Indian cooking, because olive oil is not supposed to be cooked at
Yeah, it
such
has a
high
very low
temperatures.
smoke point,
But
right?
we don't realize. Yeah, yeah. But the advertising and everything, it has been promoted as a healthy oil. So everybody starts, there's now a move to, it's a game which the industry plays with
Yeah,
us. So from time to time, they keep on pushing certain different kind of,
narratives.
the things which were considered uncool earlier, like having salt and a paste made of salt and coal for to brush your toothpaste, but brush your teeth. Now has suddenly now come back as a packaging. Now all the cool toothpaste brands ask, "क्या तुम्हारे toothpaste में नमक है?" Suddenly, so now it's become
Yeah.
cool. So it's all. Also coming to the point of, when you when you create demand for exotic stuff which is not grown regionally,
Yeah.
locally, you are again adding to your carbon footprint.
Hmm.
That stuff is getting imported. A plane is flying down,
Yeah.
it's there is so much fuel, which is fossil fuel, which is being
Yeah.
used for such a frivolous act,
Right.
collective frivolous act of ours. So if you open your minds a bit and you see the bigger picture, it helps you stay a little, minimal in your living. That's what I believe.
Yeah, definitely, man. You don't need like in terms of you're a perfect example of like saying you don't need all that. That's what actually I'm really liking about this conversation. You're saying that you don't need any kind of like you don't need a superfood. What the fuck is a superfood? You don't need quinoa. You don't need all that shit.
It's again
Yeah, you don't
marketing. Yeah,
need
there's
that
no
stuff to be healthy.
quinoa. Why would you import quinoa from
Yeah,
wherever?
bajra.
Why? Bajra is available, and you stopped eating bajra. You have moved to maida-based flour, which causes you
Yeah,
constipation. Go back to your
yeah,
roots, millets and whatever, and then it's all
yeah,
good.
man. And one thing which I'm guessing like helped you because you mentioned this once was that the community of vegans around helped you get this level
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
knowledge. So how was that process for you?
definitely. So, I mentioned it earlier. The social media has been a
Yeah,
blessing for me. Like many people, like our generation older than ours, keeps on has this habit of saying, "No, you guys are always hooked on social media. This is all." I have nothing but praises for social media, because I stumbled upon vegetarianism because of social media. I stumbled upon veganism because of social media. I made such amazing vegan community
yeah,
because of social media. I dwelled deeper into fitness because of
yeah,
social media. I was a gym rat for years because of social media. Discovered calisthenics because of social media. Everything has happened. So coming back to your question, so like when I transitioned to veganism in around 2011, earlier 2011, I assumed that there aren't too many vegans in India, so I didn't even bother to look for Indian
hmm,
vegans. I immediately started being part of many international
hmm,
vegan groups, which was filled with so many vegan
hmm,
athletes and bodybuilders who also happened to be professional at
yeah,
that level. And my mind was blown, and also I gained so much knowledge from them, because they are obviously 5 years, 10 years ahead of
yeah,
us at that time. So, and all my confusion and insecurity came to rest after I befriended so many international vegan people and
yeah,
athletes. For years now we have been in touch, and then I think around 2016 or something happened. By that time I was starting to get noticed in the vegan community because of social media. Might have posted some workout video here and
Right.
there which reached someone, and then somebody posted it in some Indian social vegan group in Facebook, and then I discovered that in India also there are so many
Hmm.
vegans now. And this I'm talking about 2016. This is 2020. It's almost in every city we have vegans now. I know now people who have been vegan for 20 years. I know vegans who are 80, 85-year-old people who have turned vegan. I know a 14-year-old guy who turned vegan because of ethical reasons. So the range is unbelievable, and we are now, and this community is of a real help. And I have been lucky in the sense that me, my
Yeah.
wife, and in later years, my younger brother and a few more people, cousins, turned vegan because they kept on seeing what I am doing and what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But I'm sure it's not the same with everyone. Many people face a lot of problems when it comes to family accepting their decision, and at that point, this community is what keeps you going.
Hmm.
So it's very important to have this vegan community where you can share. If nothing, you can just vent.
Yeah.
You know, my mom didn't let me eat this, or my dad was saying like this, or my family was making fun
Yeah.
of me. If nothing else, this venting also helps when you have this support system. It really helps.
Yeah, man. Because I had a friend, and a while back, like he's still my friend, but he was vegan then, and he's not vegan anymore. I
Mhm.
guess, or maybe he is. I'm not in touch with him so much. But when he first
Mhm.
told me that, I think it was somewhere around early 2010s, and he told me, "Man, I'm getting
Mhm.
vegan and things like that." And I was like, "This doesn't make any sense." I had seen all the memes on vegans, and so I was very like, one, I was not understanding of it. Two, I was very disdainful of it, and I didn't understand it, and I didn't know I didn't understand it. And in situation, and I'm being very I'm one of many people who probably believe that, because I come from the mainstream. There must have been
Right,
like,
right.
so to have that community of support must be crazy
Mhm.
valuable for vegans, because then you're like, okay,
Yeah,
it works
definitely,
and it
definitely.
doesn't. And from what I understand, it's awesome because people are trying to be healthy and caring towards the world around, man. And they still face a lot of
Yes,
heat.
yes, yes.
Like vegans face a lot of heat because of
Yeah.
what's going on.
It takes you years to for your skin to get thick.
Yeah.
Initially, when you become vegan, it's like the whole world suddenly starts bombarding with you with so many questions, and just joking around, and trying to make fun
Yeah.
of you. And it's not their fault. It's just that when you don't when some, it's a human nature. When you don't
Yeah.
understand something, either you fear it or you make fun of it. So that's how it happens.
I don't know that one.
My Alexa for some reason said something.
It's
Sorry.
all good, man. So yeah, actually, yeah, because we don't understand it, we won't be like, okay, I don't want to this thing, like in terms of accommodate it. And a lot of people are going like, there are a lot like people, I think veganism is really trending in terms of not just trending, like trending would be something like a paleo diet. A paleo diet would come and go, you know what I'm
I
saying?
know.
But this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
something which is almost like a movement. I've seen it grow from the past 5 years.
It's a
More
move.
people are kind of
Yes, yes.
getting acquainted with it, and there are more and more people who are doing crazy things at the same time while being completely vegan.
You're absolutely right. The kind of growth I've seen when it comes to veganism, even in India, has been awesome in the past four or
Yeah.
5 years. There was nothing before that, which was mainstream about veganism. I There's this funny episode which I often tell many people at that time when I had started going to the gym and I was vegan and I didn't know what to eat, what not to eat. There was one
Yeah.
particular month where all I ate was tofu and broccoli 3 times a day. because I first of all there was nothing
Yeah.
available and there was no
Yeah.
knowledge. And after a month, my body fucking gave up, and I had threw threw up one day, and I realized, what I'm doing
Yeah.
is wrong. So yeah, though at those were the times, and now you step. I'm in Gurgaon. If I step out, there are like three vegan cafes around me, or a restaurant will have a separate vegan menu available. There are vegan junk food, ice cream,
Yeah.
this, that. Everything is day after day, and with home delivery, the possibilities are unending. You can get anything from
Is
anywhere.
stuff like vegan ice cream and all healthy though? Like I completely get like there's a lot of options. I'm just like on a side note, is vegan
Yeah,
health
yeah,
ice
yeah.
cream healthy?
So, healthy to what? In comparison to what? Healthy in comparison to dairy milk based ice cream? Yes. Actually, a health food? No, because it will also have sugar.
Right.
But it's still but it will see now again. There's a particular brand available here locally called White Cup. They have a particular chocolate variant which they make out of
Ooh,
dates. There is no sugar
that's
involved.
nice.
So yeah, so there are so in comparison to animal product based foods, definitely this junk food, vegan junk food, it's in comparison healthy, but it's in isolation,
Of
it's
course.
not health. It's not a health
But
food. It's still fried
dude, if you
and
offer me one of these date
whatever.
ice creams, I will be like, let me try it at least. Like that sounds great. Like even if you're not a
Yeah,
vegan and even if you're just
yeah.
generally eating, that sounds
Mm,
super fucking healthy, man.
mm,
More than anything else.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
great.
Yeah. So I'm not very. I have not taken a decision on what you said right now. There's on one hand what you said is very right. There should be more and more vegan
Yeah.
options, supplements, substitutes rather, so that people experiment with it. But on the other hand, it creates a myth that you need these things to be
Hmm.
vegan. That's the problem with this
Yeah.
whole thing. Though at one end I'm happy, but then often many people ask me, yeah, if I go vegan, then how expensive is the vegan curd? But the fact is, you don't need curd. One has to be very crystal clear about it. If you are having a vegan
Yeah.
curd, it's you are only having it for your taste
Yeah.
habits. For nutritional needs, you don't need it. So no, it's a little. It's not so
Yeah,
black and white,
I kind
right?
of got that because in the initial part of the conversation, you spent a lot of time talking about the reason why you're vegan, as opposed to like
Hmm.
do this. Like you didn't talk about it. You didn't talk about your own lifestyle for a while. Like the first few things that you spoke about was more like this is why I do it. This is why I care so much about it. These are my experiences to show you how big of a problem we have with reference to animal cruelty in the world around us. And once that was sorted for you, it seemed sounded like to me, like then that's when you're talking about things you could do. And then
Right,
you've kind of also
right, right.
like found a very simple system. It's not complicated. Like people be like, I've tried all
Yeah,
these supplements and all. Like my philosophy is like before you knock it, try it. Like try everything before you kind of talk
yeah,
shit to it.
yeah.
Because I've spent
Okay,
a lot
yeah,
of time
fair
talking
enough.
shit about things. I've been
Yeah.
very critical of things in the past where I don't want to be. So I'll be like, okay, let me try it. Now I want to be too permissive with myself. So
Mm,
I tried a lot of these supplements. So like my friend would be like, bro, go get this, try it out. I'm like, fucking, I'll try it. I'll have one and then I'll see what it feels like. None of them work, man. I've tried like so many different ones. Like just in terms of lifestyle, few of the only ones which have worked personally
mm.
for me. Creatine definitely makes a difference, especially if you're like lifting and
Yeah, I've heard very good things
and
about it.
regular
Yeah,
protein.
gives you good
Yeah,
recovery. This
what have you heard about it?
creatine really helps in recovery is what I have heard, and that is why one of my when I started my calisthenics journey, I was obviously coaching under someone. There's this guy who was training me. He's from Auckland, so he had suggested me, would you be open to taking supplements? Then I said, yeah, okay, I might try it if it's vegan. So he said, just stick with creatine, and that is good enough for you because it's great
Yeah.
for recovery and your muscle retention and this and that. So at that time, I bought a jar, but didn't end up
No,
finishing it.
it
Yeah.
works well. It
But
works
yeah,
well. It yeah. You. I guess one way for you to gauge strength when you're doing calisthenics would be what, the planche. How
anything to everything. A little like a weighted muscle up will also,
perfect. Like the yeah,
test your
like for
strength.
me, it was actually the shoulder press and the squat when I realized that it's definitely like I'm being able to lift 20. First of all, I don't lift a lot. Right? Let me just say that my weights are not very heavy, but I could definitely see a difference when I had creatine and when I didn't. It wasn't just a placebo effect. Just
So
because I've had such.
when you mention squats and all, it reminds me of my pre-calisthenics day. So just I don't know if I mentioned it, but before calisthenics, I was just like you. I was a gym rat who used to love his squats and deadlifts and bench
Yeah.
presses and whatnot. I used to love free weights, and my favorite was lower body day. But I suffered two consecutive injuries in my lower back, obviously because of my
Was it a
bad form
slip
and
disc?
all. While doing deadlift, thankfully it didn't reach that stage. But yeah, there was a bulge,
Got it.
swelling. So one happened while deadlifting. I had to take a lot of time off in
Oh,
2015. When I recovered, I again resumed weightlifting, but unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately now, but then I suffered injury at the same place while doing heavy squats. And then that was a turning point in my life because then I realized, no man, now I'm not going to take time out again for next 6 7 months and not do
Yeah.
anything. I have to I have to change gears. Is when I started talking about in my vegan community, and somebody said, why don't you experiment with calisthenics, because calisthenics is actually the
Yeah.
same thing. You are still doing weight training, but you're using your body weight, and it made kind of sense. And I was like, then I researched about it, I was like, wow man, this seems like great. And once I dived into
It's
calisthenics,
insane.
there's no turning back.
Yeah, I think calisthenics and just general body weight training, movement, different kinds of dance, things like that. So when I was 18 and 17, I got two slip discs, man. I had two slip discs when I was
Oh,
a skinny kid. I came back from boarding school. I was lifting something and I got a slip disc. Now, but here's the thing: you don't know, like you have bad doctors, man. One of my family friend doctors told me you need to stay in bed. Have you heard of this thing called traction?
no, I have not, but I know that if you have a lower back problem, you should not be lying for long
Yeah,
hours.
so yeah, exactly.
You should be lying.
He insisted that I lie for 6 months. He told me take bed
Oh,
rest for 6 months. Like I took, like it was like prison, man. I was like, they ordered a hospital bed and for a slip disc. Second time, it happened again because obviously my muscles got weak from lying down all the time.
yeah, you were not doing any kind of a rehab to
A little
strengthen your
bit of
muscles.
rehab, but like how much? Like I'm literally stretching my legs back and forth. How much rehab could that be? Would that be enough for me to be active again? Hell no. Then I went again to another
Yeah.
guy, and he's like, "Screw it! Like you just wait till the inflammation goes away, and then you start walking, and then you're good." And I did
Yes,
that, and then everything
yeah.
was amazing after that. Like I mean, I could.
Mhm.
Then I did swimming for like at least 3 years. Then I did like different kinds of movement, and then that's when I started like lifting. But I completely get it. Like it's
Mhm.
lifting can itself and calisthenics. Like I didn't do calisthenics. At most, I must have done like a C sit or an L sit at most.
Mhm.
But I did a lot of deadlifts. Sorry, a lot of pull-ups and push-ups and dips and stuff. And I can completely see the benefits of that. What are like? Do you have goals with reference to calisthenics? Like, what are your goals like?
Yeah, so yeah, I was coming to that. What's different about calisthenics from weight training, which I equally loved. I still, if given a chance, I would want to include deadlifts in my schedule. But having said that, yeah. So what's the difference is the calisthenics, you learn a skill.
Yeah.
So you start from zero and you learn a skill. It could be handstand, or it could be a muscle up, or it could be a planche, or it could be a pistol squat. So like if you are a gym goer who enters the gym on
Yeah.
the first day, you can still pull up a dumbbell of 5 kg dumbbell and do
Yeah.
a curl. After 10 years, you might be using 20 kgs or 50 kgs, but you are still doing a
Right.
curl. But the difference in calisthenics is you slowly and slowly you build your mind muscle connection and your body to learn a skill. And learning that skill is a different high altogether.
And it's also very difficult, right?
Like 2 years.
It's more difficult than just going to the gym.
Difficult in the sense that you cannot push it, you cannot force it. The moment you try to push it, you will suffer from an injury, because it's ultimately like if you are, for example, if you are doing shoulder press and the weight is
Yeah.
too heavy, you can always keep it back. But if you are doing body weight and you are in a position where the weight you are doing pushing it too hard, and you can just simply rip your tendon
Yeah.
or something. So so it's not difficult, and I'm sure anybody can do it. It's just that it requires a lot of patience. You have to be very patient, and you have to be enjoying the journey. If you are not enjoying the journey and you keep on thinking, "Oh man, it's not happening," then it's not your
Yeah.
game. Like I still remember when I first did my first pistol squat, or when I did my first muscle up, and those are something which you could never imagine doing
Yeah.
5 years back. Suddenly you've learned a new skill. Yeah, so that's a different high altogether, and the possibilities are unending.
Yeah.
Once you do a muscle up, then it's weighted muscle up, and then so on and so forth, and you can keep on adding stuff to
Yeah.
it. You can go as advanced as possible. Once you learn handstand, you can start doing one arm handstand.
So if I was starting out, with calisthenics, what would you like? What are some things that I can do just to feel like I feel like when you're starting something, it's very important that initially, like the first week or two, like I feel accomplished while I'm doing it, like a little bit, that high.
So the good thing with you is that you already have a good base of weight
Right.
training. So that experience will definitely, that mind muscle connection will help you a lot. The journey will be much easier for you, because you can already do pull-ups, you can already do push-ups, you can already do
Yeah.
squats. So that strength you have built
Right.
already. So now you can use that strength to kickstart your skill generation. So you can very quickly start doing pistol squats in comparison to someone who's just new to this whole concept of
Yeah.
fitness and trying physical activity for the first time. So things like that, and the base remains the same: pull up, push up, and squats. Then you keep on. Once you start getting better and better at pull-ups and various versions of pull-ups, then you graduate to a muscle up where you pull yourself all the way up and go up. Push-ups, the better you start getting it, then it's all about shoulders and triceps, and then handstand and this and that, and all the push movements start coming into play.
That's the tough part, man. That's when a lot of the push stuff happens, like when you have to use parallettes. That's what trips me up actually.
Yeah. It's I wouldn't say it's tough, but it requires a lot of patience, because you have to go through the progressions defined so that you can build that mind muscle connection, and you can prepare your body for the the advanced move. People have a misconception that you cannot build legs on a body weight schedule or calisthenics, but it's again a big myth. There are so many lower body exercises which if I ask a heavy squatter also to do, he will not be able to do, because body weight is a different game altogether. It involves balance, coordination, strength, obviously, and many other things. Like a pistol squat is awesome for your quads, and then there's a possibilities endless. You can start adding weight to it. Pick up a dumbbell and do a pistol squat or whatever.
Yeah, you can always increase the level of tension. But here's the thing, it's kind of hard though. It's hard to do lower body with calisthenics, in a calisthenic way. Like one of my buddies, he's really strong. He's really ripped. Like in terms of this, he does planche push-ups. So he'll be in planche and he'll be doing like push-ups while he's kind of suspended. He's a mad guy. But with reference to his legs, he's still like, if I like, he didn't have time enough to put in that, because I in my opinion, I think he kind of progressed so fast at like planche and things like that. He got so good at it. He didn't have much time to focus on the lower body aspect of it.
That's because he may be the kind of guy who doesn't enjoy lower body training. If maybe he didn't dedicate the same number of hours that he dedicated to his upper body. That's
100%. He definitely does. I think seem to enjoy that more. Is it meditative? Like, do you feel like you're meditating when you do this? Because it sounds like meditation when you're describing it.
No, I would say any kind of a physical activity is be it weight training, when like 150 kg is loaded on your shoulder and you're going up and down, you cannot be thinking of anything else except for racking the weight securely. So obviously meditative as hell. I really enjoy it, and I used to enjoy weight training also. It was very meditative. Like one of the big reasons for me to dedicate 1.5 hours of physical activity every day is that it gives me that alone time where I can shut off the whole world and I'm just with myself.
That's so important.
That's very important.
Yeah, this Monday was when they opened up gyms here. Now they're very particular. They have slots, 30 people at a time and all. So I went in. Obviously, first 2 days I was blasted. I was like completely gone. Like in terms of, it was very, very pain. Like I was like sore all over. But I realized, man, like the weights actually did something for me, which I could never have. Like it's very difficult. Like for example, they don't lie, right? Either you can do something or you can't. There's no question of in the middle, right? So, but other places, like, I played tennis, right? If I'm playing, like, because I do play tennis otherwise, I'm playing against a decent opponent. I beat them. I feel good about my game. But actually, my game has not been stretched by that guy. The only time my game has been stretched is if I've found someone that beats me every time, right?
Exactly.
But you can very easily access that with like movement, which is like gym based, or if it's, if you're doing something like calisthenics, it's very easily accessible, at least in terms of where your level of knowledge has broken down, and like getting that immediate challenge is a very big contribution to that. It's would you want to add anything? How can people reach out to you if they would like to?
Okay, I'll tell my social media handles. Before that, I would like to mention a few informative documentaries and a few YouTube channels which have
100%.
helped me. It's like one I already mentioned. Watch the Health. Second one is Forks Over Knives.
Ooh, I've seen that one. Forks Over Knives.
Yeah, you've seen that one. Yeah. And then there is Cowspiracy. Cowspiracy tells you about the impact of animal agriculture on the planet. So it's an eye opener again. So like you might, I'll come to that. Then these are 3 documentaries which I believe everybody should watch. Then obviously the latest Rage, the Game Changers. Obviously it's turned many heads. Because it has been made and it's the latest, so that it's more stylized and it's more this time. So it has made people think, at least experiment a bit. So I think the Game Changer is very important. Dr. Michael Greger, Dr. Neil Bernard, Dr. Ornish, and a few more doctors. You can hear their lectures on
Dr.
YouTube.
Ornish, as in how do you spell Dr. Ornish? Sorry about that.
Ornish.
Ornish. Okay. Ornish.
I forgot his full name. Anyway, so there are 2 channels. Nutritionfact.org. It's a YouTube channel. It's also a website. So that has amazing resource when it comes to plant-based nutrition. Another is plant-based news. That's another channel. So here you will find a lot of resources from many such scientists and doctors and researchers who are plant-based. So a lot of nutrition-based knowledge which you can get. So all these things will help people,
For sure.
when they're looking for on social media. So these are, if people want to reach out to me, my Instagram handle is Fit Indian Vegan. So they can find me there. I have a similar page on Facebook. It's not that active. I'm more active on Instagram. You can find me there.
Sounds
Yeah,
good, man.
these are the
I
two
will.
places
I'll put that stuff down in the description as well, so that people know how to reach you and find you as well.
Yeah.
Right, thank you so much, man. This was
Sure.
a very, very insightful conversation. I really enjoyed it.
I loved being on the podcast, and I'm hoping that some of my points will make you think about exploring veganism once
100%,
again.
man. I'm actually thinking about it. I really am. I will talk off camera, but I'll tell you for sure. But thank you so much, man.
Sure. Thank you.